Welcome back. Our afternoon panel, Affiliate Lead Generation Best Practices. Our experts are Brook Schaaf, Jay Weintraub, Peter Hamilton, and Eoin Matthews. Our moderator is James Keating, General Manager of Overseas Retail Group. James, let me turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Deborah. So how's everybody doing today? Good? All right, glad to hear. As Deborah said, I'm James Keating. I'm the General Manager for the Overseas Retail Group, which has emerged out of the ShopWiki acquisition. I started with ShopWiki as Vice President of Marketing and was part of the team that grew it over the last 5 years to where we are today, and it's been an exciting journey. Major part of that for us has been monetizing through CPA relationships for the retailer advertisers that we work with. Prior to that, I was working as a Vice President of Advertisers for a company called Guidester, later renamed Searchandize, and now has been purchased. The name escapes me for the moment. You can tell I obviously didn't retain my equity. So, and prior to that, I was Director of Publishers at Linkshare, which started my journey into CPA relationships back in 2005. The panel today, we've got a really great mix of panelists here and lots of expertise. So I'll just start from the closest to me, working on my way out. And the first panelist is Brook Schaaf, and this is a person I've worked with for many years. And Brook was the founder and CEO of Schaaf Partner Centric. He's been in performance marketing for since 2000, originating with programs such as Zappos, Shoes.com, Edmunds, and showing impressive gains when he took over those programs, growing one from just $25,000 to $1 million in monthly sales, which is very amazing inside of a 2-year period. He's a frequent participant in affiliate industry events such as Commission Junction University, Ecom Expo, Affiliate Summit, and even AdTech. And he has also served as the president of the Performance Marketing Association. Performance Marketing Association is a great organization that looks out for the needs for people who work on CPA basis and can keep you informed of any sort of events that are happening in the industry. Next to Brook, we've got Jay Weintraub. And Jay is the founder and CEO of Next Customer, which has created the LeadsCon and Daily Deal Summits, which has more than 5,000 attendees per year. Prior to that, Jay is actually a Oversea.net alumni. He was one of the founding management team and worked here in Los Angeles with Oversea for about 5 years in a variety of management positions. So he knows our space very well. And he was also part of advertising.com and created the company's very first monetization of undersold inventory. Next to Jay, we have Peter Hamilton. Peter is partner and chief marketing officer for Has Offers. Has been with Has Offers since 2009. Has Offers impacts brand and marketing strategies and has grown B2B relationships with over 9,000 signups in the last 3 years. Before that, Peter has plenty of expertise in search engine optimization, reputation management, and social media strategies. And finally, all the way at the end, we have Eoin Matthews. Eoin Matthews is the Vice President of Business Development at VigLink. And prior to that, he was the Vice President of Business Development at Buy.com and held the position of Managing Director for Buy.com's European operations. He is well-versed with technical and sales positions and document management and software, search, and startups for both, having worked in both Ireland and the United States. So to kick it off, we'll start off with Brook's introduction and presentation. Thanks.
May I have the slideshow, please? All right. I've been asked to move along at a clip, so I may go quickly on a couple of these slides, but if you have any questions, we can come back to them in the Q&A. We are a specialty agency in the affiliate marketplace. We're generally known as an OPM for outsourced program management. Again, agency is what we really are. We manage about 50 programs with 25 full-time employees, and about 1/3 of our clients are lead-based. You can see a selection of our lead clients there at the bottom. This is exclusively affiliate program management. We do not do anything in the display space. We do not manage any pay-per-click campaigns, any social campaigns, et cetera. We think that these are all very important channels, but as Jim Collins said in the book, Good to Great, you want to do what you can do best in the world. For us, that is affiliate program management. The D fell off on the slide. I hope that does not bode ill. The comparison here is that affiliate marketing is somewhat like the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, as you may recall, had a western half and an eastern half. James said that he quite liked this comparison, as he thinks that our parties are like those of Caligula. And he asked what year this comparison was as well. It's I would guess around 100 AD at the height of the Roman Empire. It shows, I think, that affiliate marketing, which is more or less synonymous with performance marketing, is wide and expansive. It's an inaccurate comparison in the sense that affiliate marketing is not a centrally controlled space. It is a hyper-competitive marketplace with more players than any individual entity is aware of. So if you look at the very largest networks, or if you look at the very largest in-house programs like Amazon, like eBay, a network like a Commission Junction, nobody knows who everybody is. Least of all because you have a grouping of these retail guys, which are the standard retail merchants. They sell goods. And then you have a sort of collection of the lead guys. And they're very different beasts. And people who manage programs have to have a different set of skill sets, although they are quite similar in the abstract. I think it's fair to group both under the broader umbrella of CPA or cost per action. I'd like to take a moment on this slide here. These are all companies that we do business with. You'll see 3 columns here, traditional tracking platforms and CPA. These terms are all roughly synonymous, but they're distinct in, I think, the markets that they reach and in the personalities of the companies. So in the traditional column, you have what might be familiar names to you: Commission Junction, Google Affiliate Network, formerly Performix, LinkShare, James's alma mater, and ShareASale. There are many more. These are also sometimes called transparent networks. These networks tend to have a focus in the retail space. They're transparent in the sense that when you have a program on one of these platforms, you know who all of your publishers are. Typically, their domains will be listed out individually, or they'll have some kind of description that denotes they have traffic from other sources, such as email. They might be a social media affiliate. They also do have lead programs. LinkShare has a group called Lead Advantage. Commission Junction has a group called CJ Media. And these companies are moving outward in additional directions as well. But I think that to most of the outside world, these are some of the most familiar faces that you have with affiliate marketing. If I could have the slide back up, please. In the center, we have tracking platforms. Peter Hamilton is, of course, with Has Offers, and I hope he's not offended by the phrase tracking platform. I actually struggled a little bit when I was trying to come up with a category for these guys. They tend to be characterized by scalability, which is to say that if you engage with a company like this, you could effectively build your own network as much as you could run one program on them. They tend to be lower cost than the networks in the left-hand column. There are distinctions about each one. Has Offers is doing some really innovative stuff in the marketplace. Peter might have a chance to speak about that. But these others, Impact Radius, Direct Track, Link Trust, power a number of networks that you'll see in this right-hand column, which is on the CPA side. The CPA networks tend to be distinguished, one, by the fact that there are literally hundreds of them. The opportunity cost for entering this marketplace is relatively low. They are, as mentioned, typically powered by one of the companies or one of the types of companies in the center column. They're very sales-driven organizations. They are blind networks in the sense that you do not know who your publishers are. Typically, some of your publishers, which are identified anonymously or semi-anonymously by number, are the networks themselves. So If you look to the bottom, you see one that has a strike through at Copiac. I do not have anything against Copiac. They are struck through because they recently went out of business, unfortunately. They were sued by governmental agencies, along with a company called Intermark Media, for creating fake news websites to tout certain offers, health offers, among them acai berry, et cetera. And the governmental agencies came in and said, that's misrepresentation, you can't do that. This led to, I think, a cash crunch, and some affiliates ended up going unpaid. But the main point there is that they had properties and email lists that they would push the offers on as well. So when you work with companies like this, they can be very high volume. They tend to be very lead focused as well, and you sacrifice transparency for that volume. A couple other things worth noting before I move on. If you look at Media Trust, actually the president of Media Trust, or the former president of Media Trust, Peter Bordas, is the current president of the Performance Marketing Association. And that company, quite interestingly, has moved primarily over to a cost per click model. You'll find that in the performance marketing space, there's a nebulous change, or there's sort of fluidity moving from CPA to a CPC basis. And it's confused in part because people tend to regard Google and AdSense as distinct from the performance marketing industry within our space. But if people take a broader view, sometimes performance marketing will be lumped in together in comparison to display. So these terms that we are all using they do not have fixed definitions. Sometimes people will claim fixed definitions, but nobody quite has the authority to make firm declarations. And the other thing of note here before I move on, if you look at ClickBank, they specialize in info products. It's a very large marketplace. There are, again, hundreds of guys, all sorts of offers all over the place. So it's a very large marketplace. This slide is some sites that are worth knowing. Eoin, also on the panel, is with VigLink in the center. VigLink and I'm sorry to mention them, Eoin, but their competitor, Skimlinks, are two very innovative companies that make it very easy for companies to monetize by injecting content, which is, say, text links, with affiliate links. And this is very significant because in our space, what we often find is that companies that are very good at creating content, publisher sites, are not necessarily good at monetizing that content. I think that's one reason AdSense is so popular, is that it's very much a fire and forget kind of solution. That, and if you have enough AdSense on your site, you're maybe less likely to get knocked out in the Panda update. On the left, you'll see a number of tools that are worth checking out if you're in the affiliate space. These are aggregation tools. Some of them, like affiliatereporting.com at the bottom and Tracking202, are very much linked to paid search campaigns, which is paid search arbitrage, where the affiliates will link to a merchant domain using the merchant domain as the display. That's permitted by Google, although it will, of course, knock out the merchant's own listings. Although this sounds counterintuitive, paid search arbitrage with affiliates used to be much, much larger. Like in the early 2000s, affiliates were really the first ones to figure out paid search arbitrage, and they really went to town on it. They got that got constrained in a very big way, especially because affiliates bidding on trademarks is not really adding value to a merchant's programs. Compliance for that is actually a very big issue. And another company I might have mentioned here that we work with is called Brand Verity, that does monitoring for paid search. So we're always policing affiliates for that. But that notwithstanding, affiliates can bid on non-branded terms with their commissions, which are typically much lower allowances than a merchant will allow for their own paid search campaigns. For example, if you're a merchant, you might have a 10% commission for, say, a retail product, or a certain fixed fee bounty for some kind of sign-up or subscription. But you would allow a 20% amount for paid search. Affiliates can still succeed in this marketplace because some of them are simply very good, and they're fronting it with their own money. The last couple on the right, I think, are worth checking out if you're interested in the space. OfferVault is run by a guy named Mark Roth. He has a huge aggregation of lead offers. It's really a great go-to if you're trying to do any kind of pricing research for different leads. And then for me to coupon, as a note of disclosure, I am a co-founder of this company. They're not terribly involved in the day-to-day anymore. And what it is it's a B2B coupon service. If you have a coupon website, coupons require human editing. And this service edits those, does that human editing, and then resells the data. I got a couple minutes left here, so let me hustle along. This is an example of an affiliate site. What you can see on the far right is an offer wall you'll get to after you sign up. These happen to be surveys. There's a lot of activity from MemoLink. The sites I've selected, by the way, are all very well-known sites in the space. Shop at Home, you can see Intuit is one of our clients. They're up there. These guys all contribute big volume in the affiliate space. They are really, people like to shop. When they shop, they like the comfort of knowing that they're getting the best available deal. They feel that comfort through sites like this. I'd like to spend a little more time on trial pay. It's one of the more innovative models in our space. And this is a case study where what trial pay does is their philosophy is that you shouldn't have to pay processing fees because the value that you get from the consumer data is worth more than the processing fees. And those are interchange fees, say 2% from a credit card, for example. So they will cover those fees, and they will actually cover subscription fees in exchange for the user trying out a different product or service for which trial pay receives a CPA bounty. This is a very interesting model here. It's a little tough to see the screenshot, but on restaurant.com, post-transaction, you can get an offer from Shoebuy, Ghirardelli Chocolates, or Petco. So this is a merchant, restaurant.com, essentially acting as an affiliate. One thing that I think is worth remembering in our space is that there is, people tend to think in certain categories. A merchant, AKA an advertiser, or an affiliate, AKA a publisher. But anyone with traffic can do anything that they want to monetize that traffic, including being the merchant of record, including passing that traffic on a CPA or other basis. I'm probably about out of time, am I not? OK. Let me flip through the end. The slides are going to be available after the show, I know. I'm sorry I did not have a chance to get to mobile, but I guess we can probably knock that out in the Q&A. Mobile is very big in the affiliate space right now, and Ring Revenue is probably the single company that you'll want to know in that space. That's it for me.
Up next, Jay.
Thanks. Yeah, it's always a problem when you follow Brook in a presentation. I mean, not only did the D fall off with the lead, it's a little bit of a little disconcerting, but you get what? Great screenshots, like limited amount of text on his slides, like education with history, and then he leaves the best for last, like mobile. Everyone wants to know about mobile, and he's like, oh, we don't have time. It's like the best thing. So I'm about to break every single thing here, and it's, I couldn't have picked somebody else that I wouldn't want to follow more. So we're, this is really all about lead gen. It's been a lot, since about 2002, even when I joined Oversee, in the lead gen world. And so, this is, I guess it's less about, like if you're going to do A, B, or C of best practices for lead gen, and more hopefully to understand for yourself, where does lead gen fit, and does it fit for you? So here we are in, what domain owners need to know about lead gen in 10 minutes or less. In this case, it'll be 8. So we'll start off with what I think about when we think about domains and lead gen in general. You have what I think of a traditional domainer. It's like a drug. It's right. You buy a domain, you park it, you buy the name, you just kind of rinse and rinse and rinse and repeat. And the hardest part about when you think about the lead gen domainer, if there is or will be such a thing, is it's a completely different mindset. Because instead of saying, I'm going to find this property, monetize, and go back to the property, and sort of like next, it's here's something. And I quoted, I don't know if Franz is in the room, but it was, taking beautiful domains and making them better. And it sounds like a great thing in concept. You've got this great name, and you want to do something with it. So why don't more people do it? And not surprising, it's hard. So this is Probably should have talked to the folks at Oversee to help me pretty up this slide, but hopefully it'll make enough sense. And it's really to understand, I think, to put in context the world of parking versus the world of lead gen. And so we think about users today and like the traditional funnel. And they call them the dueling funnels because they sort of work counter to each other. On one end, where you get the most people and it whittles it down to the end is sort of this notion of what the users go through. So in the very beginning, if they see an impression, they see a click, they see a lead, and they turn maybe into a sale, it is you start with a big number and you end with a very small number. And it sort of makes up for it when we look at from a value perspective of what you capture. So when you capture the value, if you're capturing just an impression, you're getting a small piece of the pie. And the same thing is if you're getting paid on a click basis, you're getting a small piece of the pie. So again, looking at this in terms of how do we think of lead gen in the context? First, parking. Your unit here is clicks. You're working at one end of the funnel where it's a lot of people, but you're getting a very small extraction on another. If we think about, did you want that slide? I felt honored somebody was taking a picture. I owe him like a little bit of money. I asked for that. I feel good about this. Thank you. Thanks. And so, these are, it's like, what am I saying this about, to this audience as to why parking works? But, pretending there may be one person out there that doesn't actually think this way, it's so amazing. I mean, so many people in this room were here before there were actual parking services, and there's this huge risk to get a domain knowing that you don't know what's going to happen with it. All of a sudden, you get Google and Overture, and you've got this liquidity around millions of terms that didn't happen before. And thanks to companies like Oversee, you get these implementations that you can just get going. It's, when we think about the downside, I think they always say something controversial. So we'll ask the audience, how many people here make the majority of their business is parking today? No one wants to raise their hand? It's terrible. I can't use like the, you're all screwed type of comment. Apparently it's been waiting to use this one forever. It's terrible. So, the downside is, from a user perspective, you could argue that it's sort of limited. And really, you as the domain owner, you get, obviously, the equity value of the real estate value is high because you own the domain. But from the actual, when the users are coming on it, you're getting very little. So in lead gen, no surprise, same thing, moving down a level. So you're getting a lot, you're dealing with fewer people because you have to get them through more steps, but you also have a chance to access a much larger pool of money. All of this is, again, hopefully fairly self-explanatory, makes sense, and where we take it is first sort of saying, think about the world of the domain marketplace. It's very much think of the far left here. It's a very two-dimensional or two-relationship driven. It's you and the parking company. It's nice, it's really simple. And when we think about in the lead gen world, you end up with these, because you have many more people to deal with, you end up with sometimes incredibly complex relationship sets. So it introduces on the sales side some complexity that is sometimes hard to initially get over. And so when I think about, if you're a domainer and you want to think about lead gen, when I thought about what your options might be, some of the easiest, the easiest one is sort of, first you find lead gen guys who they've got the way to make money. The problem is they don't have any clue about having a good name. And so one great thing is if you play in more of the real estate component of this, you can find a lot of companies who don't have a good name, and they'll pay a lot of money for it because they can monetize it back really quickly. Sort of next down, you continue to own the domain. You're finding partners that already have the equivalent of the parking service in the lead gen world. So you can find the guys who are like the parking service in the lead gen world and sort of work with them. Lastly, obviously you can do it yourself. But really, when you think about doing it yourself, it's sort of, this is about, the top one here is sort of, from the last slide, we're dealing with finding partners, and then doing it yourself. When we think about finding partners, it's, do you want to be an affiliate? And who are you really, right? I guess part of it is, do you want to build technology? Do you just want to, focus on the domains? And it's really up to you. But especially if you're thinking about lead gen, It is, as a guy who lives and breathes with lead gen, I obviously am a huge advocate of it, but to do it right and to do it sort of scalably is more like building a business than being a land owner. And so it really is kind of, it's a great sort of option, especially if you have a name that fits well, but it's not necessarily going to be for everyone. Now, the good news is, from at least a lead gen guy, when I think about, and I loved sort of Brook's slide about the ecosystem, and it's the same thing when Peter gets up, in the affiliate world and in the domain world, there's these turnkey relationships. And that's what's amazing, is that all of a sudden, if I have a domain, I can monetize. Or let's say that I have a domain that's about a certain great retail product. I can become an affiliate, and I can make money off of the sale angle. But when it comes to sort of the leads, there isn't this built-in, ready-made technology so that you, as sort of a traffic owner in a high-value category, let's say that you have pet insurance, or let's say that you have nursing homes, and you know that people who are coming to your sites for pet insurance or nursing homes, you own this amazingly valuable audience that you should be getting a lot of money for. But it's sort of, what do you do? How do you sell off that traffic and that intent that's not on a CPC basis? And that's really what, someone like myself, I sort of stay up at night because my dream is not to sort of bifurcate parking, obviously, but it's to think about you as domain owners. How do you quickly, easily, scalably get into the business of capturing all that you really should be capturing? And so we're sort of getting there, because some of the technologies that make leads tough are getting a little bit easier. And hopefully, it'll continue to do so. So I guess more than anything, we think about, like my sort of dream scenario, you've got a great page. Your page, a great domains or a group of domains around an area, what really should you be doing? It should be building a business for itself. I mean, you should have somebody who's, like let's say you own something around eye or LASIK, like a LASIK domain. You're going to get a ton of great doctors and consumers. And so we're going to get to that point where the doctors will start to sign up and they'll say, you know what? I'm going to want to pay you on a per X basis or a per lead or a per call. And so hopefully this time next year, if we see each other, we'll have some great sort of solutions so that we'll have some of you come up on stage and say, you know what, I own this great LASIK domain, and I was able to now make a ton of money off of it by turning that intent into a direct buyer and not necessarily just a click. So I think what I successfully did was say that domainers are screwed and lead gen is still not easy. Perfect. Okay, mission accomplished. Thank you very much.
Peter Hamilton.
Hello, everyone. Here we go. Yeah, my name is Peter. I'm partner in CMO at Has Offers. We are actually a startup based in Seattle, Washington. We're bootstrapped and profitable, and we have 40 employees. And what we do is concentrate on tracking. So I think that Brook's description was perfect. We are a tracking software that's hosted in the cloud that allows you to track and manage your own affiliate program. So there are lots of different ways that people use our system, but the overarching factor is if you want to track performance, that's what our platform is built for, so that you don't have to build your own solutions. And I'll try to leave that as the only plug that I do. It's, Has Offers, I do eat, sleep, and breathe it. If you've ever been a part of a startup, you know what that's like. So I'll try not to just let it pop out of my mouth every 5 seconds. But what I've learned from it is that the more tracking technology we can get in the hands of more people, the more our industry grows. And I'd like to see how that continues to impact, especially domainers, because a lot of the barrier there in moving into CPA and CPL is actually the tracking and the testing of what's actually working on those domains. So the first thing I want to say is that CPA is for nerds. And if you know any people that have made their living the past 10 years in CPA, you know that they're nerds. They really get into data. They really get into conversion rate optimization. They really get into testing, and they love to look at the numbers, and they love to find a new offer that's going to beat the old offer, and they love to just get really deep into it. So if you're not a nerd, maybe CPA is not going to be the best thing for you unless you've got lots of nerds working for you, which I highly recommend. You have to care about things like knowing your audience, closely measuring, monitoring engagement, conversion rate optimization, finding the perfect offers, keeping up with those offers across all these different networks, negotiating payouts, keeping track of the payments, making sure that those checks keep coming in so that you're actually monetizing this stuff. So there's a lot of things to think about, and it's a little bit different than just running AdSense. You're going to have to really figure out the best offers for the traffic that you have, and that takes a little bit of time. There's a couple of questions. I'm going to kind of fly through this stuff because I want to hopefully get to mobile. We'll see if I have a chance, but there's a couple of questions that, as a traffic owner or website owner or domainer, whoever you are, that you should ask about your business to figure out, what kinds of offers are going to work best for the traffic you have. So what do users do on your properties? Do they browse content? Do they find answers that they're looking for? Are they signing up for services? Are they actually purchasing products on your site, whether it's like a retail situation or an affiliate situation, or do you actually sell people products as well? Or do users just come to the site to interact? Do they want to engage? Do they want to give some kind of review, or they want to post a comment in a forum or something like that? If you can understand what the primary action is that happens on the site, and then start thinking about where the users come from before they get there. So are they searching in organic rankings? Are they clicking on a paid search ad? Do they click an ad from a display network or a media buy? Or maybe they clicked an affiliate link from a very niche-specific site that brought them to your site, and now they're ready to do whatever action or primary action there is. So if you understand that primary intent plus that primary action, then you start to get a better picture of what your monetizable audience actually looks like. This is definitely the biggest X factor, is understanding what this audience really is, what they're trying to do, because what you can do is complete the circle. And what I love about affiliate marketing and about CPA or CPL or whatever it is that you're trying to actually find an answer for what this user is trying to do. If you read all of the millions of blogs about how to do affiliate marketing, what the purpose of affiliate marketing is, it's all about finding the users that are looking for something, you filling the need, and then getting a little bit of payoff for it. And I'd say that's probably the most gratifying part of this CPA world. A couple other things you got to think about with that audience are how they act once they get to your site. So what's their time on site, what are their page views, what are their click-through rates looking like, what's their actual engagement on the site, and if you have your own sort of conversions happening, what your conversion rates are on that, and then also, the total cost to get those users in the door and the revenue that you're currently making on the site. And then you can start to figure out, well, how do I start to find offers that are going to convert better and I'm going to get better payouts for? So let's do some matchmaking. You got your audience, you got your offers, and the whole game of this is trying to match them up. It's almost like playing the stocks and figuring out, when you can get in with the right offer, with the right payout, and you can monetize that traffic the best. Obviously, you want the niche probably to match up, most likely, unless it's like something that's a little bit more broad, like a coupon offer or a Groupon or some sort of daily deals thing where it can kind of fit with anybody. The time on site obviously needs to kind of correlate to click-through rates, your page views sort of correlating with how relevant the offer is, and then back to the primary action and primary intent. So the primary action being, if your action is for the person to buy something, then maybe a percentage of sale type of an offer, like a product offer off of ClickBank or something, is going to be a great offer to use. And if the primary intent was for the user to interact in some way or to get an answer to a question, maybe you're going to be looking more in the lead gen realm and you're going to want some sort of a CPL monetization method. I just gave a little example there. If they're searching and they're looking to buy something that have high time on site, then you might be a good candidate to work with a percentage revenue offer. And so then you go start the search. And you want to try to find, obviously, this match made in heaven, this thing that's just going to convert every single one of your users at a very high rate. And it's probably not going to happen quickly. It's probably going to take a lot of testing, and you're probably going to be looking over a long period of time. But here are some things to kind of start looking at. Brook already listed some things as well. This list can just go on and on of ways to find offers. Obviously, there's the offer directories with OfferVault, as you mentioned, ODigger and Jounce. You've got some affiliate networks, CJ, GAN, ShareSale. You've got direct relationships. I was actually talking to a gentleman this morning who was saying, that the trade shows are the best way that they find new relationships. And I highly recommend going to the affiliate summits and the Leads Con and ad tech and those sorts of things to find those kind of relationships. And then, of course, just browsing your competitive websites. Who's in your niche, who's doing really well, who gets lots of traffic, how are they monetizing? What CPA offers are they playing with? And then the next step is getting really deep into testing. First off, you do need a tracking platform or some sort of ad serving platform to figure out, to actually manage this inventory and start to A/B test it. There are lots of different things to use. And I also highly recommend never moving over all your traffic before testing. You'd be surprised how many people do this. They just sort of throw it all over there, and then they just sink for a week. So test things slowly. Start them out with just small portions of your traffic, and even in non-prime time hours and things like that. And then make sure that you test every element, like actually try to use some sort of scientific method and make sure you're not testing 6 different variables at once and not able to figure out what the correlation is that makes the person click through or convert. So, got to the stuff to check out. Obviously, we already covered this a little bit, but yeah, Skimlinks and VigLink are awesome ways to automate some of the process. If you already have a ton of content up on your domains and you've got tons of blogs that have lots of unique stuff, these things actually skim or scan or whatever, all of that content for the links that you've already placed and sees if there's a correlating affiliate link that we can just place in there. So when a user clicks that, they find themselves in an offer, and if they convert, you get the credit. But these companies are also doing something really innovative with text links where they actually can find relevant content and then turn those into affiliate links and send users on that way. They both have some different philosophies on it, but I definitely recommend checking out both of them. Even if you do really well on one, you should check out the other because they have some different clients and different advertisers and networks that they're working with. So, and this is what I really get excited about is the rise of mobile offers. Until recently, there was really no way to actually track things like mobile app installs and mobile app engagements back to advertising sources. And there was really a lot of confusion around, with these big app developers, how do I actually pay out these ad networks and get installs and get engagement and actually know that those ad networks are bringing me that engagement. I'm paying, pay-per-click models. I'm paying just like the old display world, trying to get all of these users, but I actually don't know who to credit for the users that I do get. And this is just starting to turn over. The tracking is just starting to be made available. Obviously, I'm highlighting mobile app tracking at the bottom, but some of these other networks are providing really great ways to connect with mobile app developers and these big mobile app companies and start pushing offers toward their apps. They're willing to pay out per install. They're willing to pay out for different kinds of engagements. And one of the really interesting things that I'm seeing is that with the install type of a reward, it's almost like a mobile app company is paying for a lead, and that lead is an install. So it's like I'm willing to pay $2 for someone to install my app because then someone's going to go on and they're going to buy something from my app, or they're going to, they're going to go to level 2 and they're going to want 6 more rupees to continue on to level 3 or whatever it is. So there's a really, the big companies, Big Fish Games, Zynga, even more, some of the older cell phone carriers like Flycell, and then EA Sports, anybody that's playing in the big mobile app world is willing to get users and get market share as quickly as they can, and they're willing to pay out for it. So I really highly recommend starting to educate yourself around mobile, starting to understand how mobile app publishing can become part of your mobile publishing, and definitely checking out these networks. So OfferMobi uses us for their tracking technology, and Tapit as well. And Neverblue is integrated with our platforms, and then Yahoo Mobile is also doing some really some integrations with us with some of their biggest mobile app providers. All these people are really sort of on the cutting edge of it. I'm sure we're going to touch on this a little bit more, so I'm not going to go too deep into it right now. I want everyone to get to drop their opinions in on it. But yeah, I'm definitely available to talk more about what's happening in the mobile app space and that lead gen side of things. Brook also touched on ring revenue, which is definitely another big part of CPA in the phone space, where you can actually create unique phone numbers instead of a unique affiliate link that a user can call, and you can give credit to the appropriate affiliate. So that's definitely a great way to monetize on your sites. It's an alternative to just regular old banner placement or regular old link placement. So yeah, that's some stuff to check out. And I always like to leave you with this. Remember that whatever you put out there comes back to you. And I challenge you to be providing more value to the internet than garbage, because that's what's going to really build your business and going to provide sustainability. I think you guys as domainers have seen a change and a shift over time and how domainers make money, how they monetize their sites. And I think that the more you can really concentrate on solving that problem of giving the user what it is that they're really looking for, that awesome thing about affiliate marketing that I love, you're going to get much more reward, you're going to be far more satisfied, and you're going to be far more sustainable. So yeah, thank you very much. That's it.
And Eoin Matthews.
Hi there. You put an Irish guy in front of this many lights, I'll probably burn up in 8 minutes. So I'm just going to wait for these to come up. So thanks to everybody actually for, it's the last of the day, and it's a pretty great turnout, so thank you very much. So I'm going to take a 50,000-foot level about online advertising. And I think it's going to be following on very much from what Jay and Peter and Brook have been saying. You sort of got to make that decision about, is this about adding value or is it just about the bucks? And there's been a movement in the past few years, and it's really been brought about by Google, where the days when you just made easy money, it's pretty much gone. There were people in the CSE space doing arbitrage. They made a ton of money. They don't do it anymore. You look at the strategies of the big comparison shopping engines. They've tried to become destinations in the past few years. And it's pretty much across the board. All those guys who had great arbitrage, it's gradually been whittled away, and the value add has become really important. And online advertising should be really easy. There's you in the middle. There's users coming in somewhere. And you decide your level of involvement in between. And there's advertisers somewhere out there. You can have lots of intermediaries. And hopefully that helps you have a good lifestyle. Whether you're putting your kids to school or driving a nicer car, something else.
Sorry.
But the reality, and this is just a display piece, looks like this, and these are the big companies. Now this is sort of like the Dead Sea Scrolls of the ad world. Like nobody knows who Luma Partners is, but they made this, a bunch of these actually, which are really invaluable views into different sections of online advertising. You can find these on slideshare.com. But this just gives you a sense of the amount of players that are in each part of online advertising and how complex it is. How many folks are adding value in some cases, getting a piece of the pie. There's a lot happening, and you can do the same across search, across all the different types of advertising. We definitely touched on the affiliate space here. There's a lot of folks. There's lots of different ways to monetize, and there's a lot of people making money. But it's getting, the complexity you see here is because the amount of sophistication. There's people adding data layers. There's exchanges up there. There's a lot of contextual stuff. So you have a very complex landscape, which for you as domainers means you have lots of ways to monetize, but it's still a challenge. And again, within online advertising, you sort of now are at this juncture where you've got to make a decision. Which side are you on? And there is a middle ground. That's what you're here to. You need to actually be both. You have to engage users, but you've got to be able to move the traffic off your site. You've got to be able to add value with the advertising rather than it just pays for something. Advertisers more and more are looking for the affiliate. They're looking for the accountability the whole way through the chain, whether they're paying for a click or an impression, they expect to get paid. And you, as domainers, want your brand to grow. Like the best traffic in the world for you is that user who decides to come back voluntarily, or that user who comes back through SEO. But the volunteer, the user who says, you've given me a piece of content I want to come back for, that's going to be the easiest money you make the next time, because hopefully that'll be another impression, another outbound click, another lead for something else. So that's what you want to think about. How do you add value there? Do you want to retain them somehow? And then there's just your personal happiness and the long-term view in your business. What are you going to feel happier doing? And this isn't to put down the column on the right. There's a balance here between these two worldviews. And it is sort of this balance on revenue versus developing the properties and values. And it ends up in this idealist versus cynic view of the world. So, as we've talked about today, monetization is not equal at all on the web. And the more layers you add in between, the more guys there are taking a cut of the pie. You also have to think about going back to the previous values, your sticky experience, your monetization. How does this all fit together? And it's complex, and it's your business. It's important that you figure it out, because there are display. And if you want to be a branded site, display is probably going to be the most lucrative for you, because you're going to keep users and you're going to drive up impressions, and you're going to have branded campaigns where branded advertisers pay a premium. And then you move closer and closer down to performance channel. So getting it to CPC is your next sort of stack. In that monetization stack, you're moving into CPC. And that's getting closer to performance. You're driving traffic. And then you're straight into affiliate, where you're accountable. You have to make it work. And you have to be dependent on the downstream partner also being able to convert them. And lead gen is in that nice in-between, where you might actually own the lead gen process, but you hand it off. But there's lots of different monetization opportunities out there, and you need to focus on the ones that are going to work for your properties. And if you have a lot of properties, there's probably going to be a lot of monetization you're going to need to do. You're going to have to have a whole funnel. We want to look at the user at the same time, and sort of online user right now is sort of bombarded. And they're also, anybody here, I think, has been trained pretty well to not look at certain types of ads. In fact, the only people I know who really, really know what ads have been served are people who are in the industry. I look at ads because that's my job. But if I ask my better half to look at the ads, she's like, I don't know what was served, what ads she saw during that day. And that's because at the same time she is looking at offers that are coming in from Groupon. At the same time, she's getting Facebook updates. She's getting so much other stuff that literally on your site, when you do have that visitor, these other opportunities are distracting your users. So you really need to know how to get the user in and out in the best possible way. So what is that mechanism? What happens? And this is sort of our pitch as a company, and this is just one part of it. I think the monetization spectrum is really broad, and I think Peter was really touching on this. You have to look at all the opportunities. What we do as a company is we automate click monetization. And that's a pretty simple concept, but it's in execution is pretty difficult. So there's two different ways we do that. One is if a user, and it could be you posting content yourself, or it could be any user-generated content. So if you've got forum content, if you've got user comments and threads on your site, we look at any link. And in fact, we don't even look at the link, we look at the click. So the URL doesn't change. We don't turn an Amazon link into an Amazon Associates link. What we do is we look at the outbound click in real time, it hits our servers, we look across almost 20,000 potential advertising partners, and we say, can this click be monetized? That's really the nutshell. Can it, as the user is leaving your site, is there a way to monetize it? Now, if you've already figured out how to monetize it, in other words, if it is a monetized link, we don't touch it. We actually leave the link completely alone, and it goes to the destination you want it to go to, and we don't take a cut of anything. So we're this layer that helps you monetize all the traffic that's leaving anyway. But it's a good way to do it. And as Peter sort of kindly said, there's a second layer to what we do, which is new link insertion. And this is difficult to do. So on the contextual ads in the past, some of the networks you might have been familiar with, and some of the ones that you see online or they used to, are typically a big double underline. There's typically a hover unit. And it's pretty obtrusive from a user experience perspective. And it pays quite well. Those contextual networks, if you can get a deal with them, they tend to be quite fussy about who they work with. They want sites with a lot of traffic, but it pays decently well for a lot of publishers. But it's a pretty dumb system in that it's a straight up keyword match. And this is where the big push around a lot of online advertising is going. It's why there are so many companies in that Luma Partners slide earlier. The sophistication of ads is improving exponentially every year. And so if I take this example, we're not a keyword match technology. We literally have data parsing on huge bodies of text that decides statistically what the likelihood is of a best link going on a certain phrase before we even look to see if there's a good advertising partner against it. So there's a huge semantic analysis around every piece of content, and that's our way of doing it. Maybe that's a too expensive way to do it, but it works. So we find within bodies of content these new advertising opportunities, and we've got a huge advertiser base of almost 20,000 partners who we work with. And for us, we do look at that monetization stack we're pretty ambivalent about how it's done. Lead gen and CPA offers and affiliate networks are a big part of it, but we have to embrace CPC as well. That's a big part of our business, and so we actually have a pretty sophisticated way of looking at real time on that outbound click. Should it be CPA? Should it be a CPC offer? What's the best thing to do? And obviously, the best thing for the publisher is the best thing for us because we're monetized on that outbound click as well. So that, in a nutshell, is how we help partners, but you need to be looking at that full spectrum. You need to be looking at every single opportunity. To do it in scale is also the difficulty, and one thing, sort of what we're saying in this slide is we're reliable. With every ad partner you work with, you need to look at reliability. I think, Brook, you mentioned earlier about one particular company going out of business, and this is frequent. If you decide that somebody is going to be your advertising partner, make sure you know you're going to get paid. If you don't get paid, it doesn't matter the quality of leads you sent them, you're screwed. You're not going to get a penny. And this has happened surprisingly a lot in the business. So reputable partners who are able to handle volume is a really important part of your business. And I'm sure a lot of you know that really well. So this is who we are. So it's not a bootstrap company. It's a Google Ventures-backed company, and has a great team behind it, but we had to sort of bring in a great team to get to that sort of volume on clicks that we were talking about. The last piece that's sort of relevant to you guys on the affiliate side is when you sign up for an affiliate network, there are hundreds or maybe thousands of merchants in there, and you pretty much have to apply to each one manually. And so some of the value prop we give is that we've done that work and that we aggregate all of them together into one place. So as you're starting off your work in this business, it's much easier to sign up for one program that already is pre-approved at the very top tiers of commissions than to go through each one and hope that you're approved, and if you're not approved, to go through an application process. So we make that process really easy, and we don't just look to the affiliate networks that you know of. We have expansive relationships across networks that you might even have heard of yet, and also with CPC partners so that the monetization might be even more lucrative. And that's it. So thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. Very fantastic presentations. Lots of great information, and I'm sure a lot of new learning for everybody here too. And yeah, I know we're probably short on time, so I'm going to pick some questions that, yeah, and I'm going to focus on the questions that you guys perhaps didn't cover or we can expand upon. One of the things that I often have heard is, yeah, CPA affiliate marketing really is backfill. Now, my experience is one thing, and I've seen it as a front and ready. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about backfill, or is it really the front and center for some monetization? Anybody want to go first on that?
Sure.
I'll just call it Peter.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure. I think the opportunity is higher for a lower volume of traffic. I think Jay kind of touched on this, is that if you can be converting a decent portion of that traffic, the payouts are going to be much higher. So it just depends on like what you have time for and what you're focused on. It can be backfill if you're mostly just trying to continue churning out more of the same. But if you've hit on some really target audiences and you're ready to build those out, the potential is much higher, and you can continue to negotiate payouts and just climb them up and continue to scale that. So I think, yeah, it just depends on your priorities.
I think it depends on the category. I think you really hit the nail on the head in the sense that if you look into the has offers world, and if it's CPA-based stuff, it pays out great. The retail world, it depends on the quality of your traffic. From a retailer perspective, they'll look at affiliates and go, that's the guaranteed. That's the ROI is known in advance type of advertising. So there's no risk for the retailer. They'll throw as much money at you as possible, but you're only going to get paid that specified commission. So from a retailer perspective, it generally is the lowest cost form of advertising. But that's not to say it's not going to be the best on your side, because you may have optimized that funnel. That's why a lot of premium publishers, so you might be looking at the fat wallets like Performance Marketing Group, those guys who've really built up fantastic businesses, being acquired recently. Whale Shark Media is another, who know how to just handle that type of traffic. They decided other types of advertising weren't for them. I think when you especially go into the premium lead gen stuff, it's obviously way more lucrative than getting paid on a CPC basis. If it's a $50 to $400 lead, why would you take a 25-cent CPC? It just didn't make sense. So if you understand the monetization differences on the same offer, you're going to end up with a pretty optimized opportunity.
And so really driving the conversion rate is kind of the key to success, and getting a value of a CPA offer way above what you can get on a CPC basis. Excellent. One of the things that also, I kind of heard in a lot of the presentations is you have more control over what you do, and I think that's because you have a much greater shared risk with the advertiser as the publisher. And what do you think, Jay? I mean, in terms of sharing the risk with between you and the advertiser, you feel like you have more control?
I was going to just say, don't share risk. Go for the dumb money. If they'll pay you a lot of money just for your traffic, I wouldn't do anything else other than that. But to be a little bit more serious, the performance space is, it's all about sort of that notion of risk. And I think the problem is that, when you look at what went wrong, according to, Brook's slide, when you're paid on a performance basis, it's a real issue because you have to, it leads to a lot of bad behavior because otherwise you just can't get any action. So it makes you really want to do anything and everything possible to make sure somebody does a transaction. And it's why it's a blessing and a curse to have a lot of control, but it also tempts you to want to do some really funky, fun stuff.
Yeah. And Brooke, you sitting in the middle and as an OPM, you must see this where the publisher comes back and says, hey, pay us more. What do you think?
So, it's all a value-based marketplace, and the beauty of affiliate marketing is that the opportunity cost to engage is very low. To go to Jay's point, you can't walk up to any advertiser and drop a big IO and expect that they're going to invest $5,000 or $10,000 with you. But if you're doing it on a performance basis, they'll do a lot with you, and then the remuneration grows in proportion to the value driven. To another point that Jay made, the value can be gamed in the system. Now that's certainly true of all advertising channels. There's click fraud is a huge problem. Fake impressions is a big problem, and click path insertion in the CPA space is a big problem as well. And on top of that, in the lead space, fraud is a very serious issue. So you shouldn't run an affiliate program unless you have measures in place to make sure that those are controlled. But if you do, to go back to Eoin's point, it is typically the highest ROI, at least outside of email into your own list.
And speaking of email, any recommendations of how to get traffic on an email list that you may have? Or I'm sorry, how to monetize that traffic on email list?
If you're the list owner?
Yes.
If you're the advertiser, one thing that's important is to be CAN spam compliant. So you need to use some kind of something like Unsubcentral or Optismo for centralized opt-out. You'll want special creative, but when you have that in place, email can drive significant volume, especially for lead offers. All the coupon guys and loyalty sites, they're big emailers too. There's a neat site in the retail space called Shop It To Me, and he highlights discounts on certain kinds of products. From the publisher side, I have limited experience there, but I think there's a lot of testing. Aweber is a highly recommended vendor in the space with all the guys I always talk to for doing automated email lists and list segmentation.
I just want to, just jump in real quick and say, what I think is fun about this group here is, if we pick I'll pick LASIK as another example. So if you own anything related to sort of LASIK, find a LASIK doc, all of a sudden you could, it's sort of today, maybe a bunch of tech links. Let's say that you had some content around it. All of a sudden, you could talk to our Vigilink guys and take some of that content, especially that's product-driven or service-driven, and monetize it that way. Let's say that you happen to have a whole bunch of people who are coming who are actually doctors, and you signed up a bunch of doctors who you sold leads to, and then you went over to your neighbors here who also owned very similar domains. You can go to Has Offers, and now you can get a whole bunch of people who can help promote for you. And once the people promote for you, then you can go to Brook, who can then take your new property and go find it elsewise. So I think what this panel is sort of really about is how do you take that initial sort of visitor that you may have passed off as just a click and turn it into your own brand, and then sort of scale out the how you make money off of that brand, including putting an email sign up on there and being able to make money that way.
To your point, I mean, Groupon, for example, is just a big affiliate network. They have huge email lists. They have tons of advertisers they represent, and they just drive traffic to those advertisers for a percentage, for a commission. So when you think about it, they're a big affiliate with their own affiliate network, trying to monetize offers for real-time local advertisers. And I think that, like he was saying, this is an opportunity for you to look at what you have as a domainer or website owner or whoever it is. What you have is users, and how can you best monetize those users? And it's a question that not just domainers and blog owners and all that sort of thing ask. It's a question any online business asks themselves. How are they going to be able to make that monetization happen in the most effective way? And you have to explore all of these different territories, and you have to explore CPA for sure, because the payouts are just so high. And you can get really good at this, and you can really make a difference.
Fantastic. Okay, we're running short on time, so I see we have some questions. I want to skip to those questions.
I did want to ask Paige Howe from Domain University. So, as a domainer, we don't have that one passionate site that I've worked on and I spin and I build my contain it. But in the aggregate, we do bring a lot of people with a lot of names. And my experience today with the intermediaries has been we've got to apply for each domain name, get it approved, get a code for each one. So if we come to you guys in the aggregate and you say, well, LASIK, we may have 70 sites with LASIK, and you guys are over here on this end of the river, how far do we have to swim over there where we can't build 20,000, individual websites to get there? Can you reach out and get to us, and help us a little bit so that we don't have to build 20,000 websites to be able to come we may not have the numbers from one site, but in the aggregate, we have a lot of people ready to buy and offer a CPA offer.
For the Vigilink perspective, it's JavaScript on your page, and you can put the same JavaScript across all 20,000 domains, and we'll figure it out. I think a lot of what you're hearing, and so yes, we want to work with you, and I think everybody here wants to work with people who can drive high-quality traffic. I think that's really what everybody has been hitting on. It's that the advertisers are focused on high-quality traffic. Everybody is becoming more accountable within the whole advertising world. So we have to qualify the traffic, and we all have to work together to get it through that funnel and hopefully make money on it. But we can certainly work with you.
But I think the people on even the lead side, they've really dropped the ball. I mean, I think you guys have been the owners and are the owners of the best traffic, and it's just there's been a language barrier to not understand what you have to offer and then build solutions for you. So I think today in a handful of sectors, you can capture a greater percentage of that value, like LASIK. You can capture a bigger value than it is without having to swim all the way over there and do all this work, one at a time, or then be turned around type of thing. And so, but I think a lot of the aggregators have been so focused on one type of traffic that they've really screwed up by not coming to you. And I think that's why there's some people in this room who've been sort of hard at work to say there's always going to be people who are much better at owning the LASIK domains and wanting to build. And so those bridge builders, I think, are finally saying, I'm going to be a bridge builder. You continue to be the amazing domain landowner, and I'll be the bridge builder to connect you.
Yeah, because our experience, just to share with you, is we've never had to do more than send an Excel sheet to somebody, I mean, cut and paste a tablet, and so it's a long way to do the individual site building work, you know, all that stuff for
But
us, and that's what we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, the cynic in me says, why are we up here? It's because we're just proving how hard it is to do something else. And so you'll just stay with parking, right? I mean, inertia, oh crap, that really sucks. That's hard, forget that. You know, I'm gonna go with it. But I mean, it is, you know, we all want the same thing, which is how do you monetize best for your users? And it's just that others have to, not to say the exact same thing, but they really have to work harder for you.
I do appreciate it. Thanks for letting me get a question in to the group.
Of course, of course. Any other questions that we have? All right, I think we hit the limits on our time. I want to thank,
No question, please.
Oh,
please, James.
sorry, Eoin.
I just want to
Okay.
make an announcement, so please hang on.
Okay, I want to thank our panelists, Brook, Jay, Peter, Eoin. Thank you very much. Presentations are awesome. And maybe next time we'll get to talk about mobile.
Please stay in the room. We're going to have immediately following this session our silver and gold sponsor showcase. Also, it was mentioned earlier, and I want to repeat that all of the presentation PowerPoints and videos will be available on our website, domainfest.com, at the end of next week. So you can compare your notes to what really was presented, and hopefully they'll be the same. Thank you again, panelists, and we'll segue immediately into our silver and gold sponsor showcase, so please stay, and thank you. Oh, one other thing too, for those of you who have not yet checked out Dine with the Expert, many of these speakers all day today, tomorrow, and Thursday are available to meet with people during breakfast and lunch. So go to domainfest.com